Everybody, this is Ismortah coming at you with my first board game session, Sunday, 7 p.m. PST. And so these board game sections um, during this stream as well, either be showing you live play sessions of board games other than Elementers or including Elementers, or um, building and painting miniatures, showing off collections. That's one thing that I'm going to show off today. And just going over this board game content for the hobby in general, which could be a mixed bag of different types of information. So this evening, what I'm going to show you is the first part of a three-part series involving X-Wing 2.0, the conversion kit. I've been late on the bandwagon as far as getting the conversion, only because I invested so much money into X-Wing 1.0 to see that initially the conversion was only a portion of some of the many ships I had. I was not sold, even though, as I'll loosely go into a little bit today, it's somewhat like the upgrade to Twilight Imperium 4 from 3. Like, everything done with that I've seen as far as the gameplay and UI has been a marked improvement, so I could see why they went 2.0. It does suck for someone that spent so much money on ships that then you have to go and either wait for the conversion kits to come out for all of them, which so far they have other than the epic ships. But then it was also, a lot of money because each of these conversion kits can be like $40 to $60. Fortunately, got mine off Amazon with gift cards. Yeah. But anyway, a lot of conversion stuff. So I'm just going to be going over half of the conversion kits today and the other half next week, with the third week then just showing off my entire collection with all of this cool content and conversion stuff. So let's get into it. So today what I'll be talking about is the core game 2.0. Because that is required even though you get conversion kits, because even the core components you use, like you can see which are going to maneuver dials, tokens, and some of the core rules are drastically different. And then I'll go into the Rebel and the Galactic Empire conversion kits today and go over the other three next time. So let's jump into it. So the first one is Star Wars X-Wing. Boom, like you see right here. So just like the 1.0, let me take a seat. You get the 3 core ships, 2 TIE Lins and 1 X-Wing. What's really cool is the X-Wing core set that I got back in the day was actually from after the first new movie came out. So it was actually based on the Resistance. So what's cool is I actually don't have these ships at all, nor the pilots. They're actually unique that came with the original 1.0 of X-Wing. So this is actually new stuff, which is really cool. And one thing I'm going to show you right now that's super cool is they upgraded the core miniature here so that the S-foils actually retract. Isn't that cool? Yeah. Which is not only cool because it makes it a fun toy, but there are mechanics in the game that it has different gameplay mechanisms going on if its S-foils are locked or in attack position. Which, for example, you can see here. When the S-foils is open, which you can also simulate, has different stats. So what did you get in the box for the core set? You got a ton of stuff. You got, I'll start from left to right. You got a bunch of multiple layers of tokens. I just keep these. Wonder why am I showcasing these? Only because I use not only existing board games, but board game pieces that you don't use for doing prototype builds of board games that I make. So it's good example material and things you can use. The rule book, a rule book that has all of the definitions for the rules, as well as a quick start guide that you can just, has illustrations, Short and sweet. Where is it? Oh, it's right here. They can just jump straight in. As well as the rulebook. Nifty trade that the ships came in that you could actually reuse to transport, which is awesome. Because currently what I have to use for a transport solution, as you see here, these two bags, are from Feld here, which is, I believe, a German company, which makes these awesome mesh, which I'll show you on part 3, bags, where I can actually store every single one of my ships, including 2 epic ships. And it's all fit in these 2 bags. You just have layers of that foam material that would keep them safe, but keep them really compact. So what else did we get? We got some asteroids and debris fields. What's interesting, like, it's probably because I played wrong originally. I didn't realize that the rules for asteroids and debris fields are actually different, unless that's changed with 2.0. And so it makes it unique whether you're trying to dodge a huge object or just flying through a bunch of debris. It has different effects on the ship. We got maneuver dials, which look a little fancier. I haven't built it yet, only because, as I'll show you in a sec, I have a metric ton of them. But I really like it now. How they're going to do it is the fact that you can always see the maneuver dial, and then you just choose which one you want to turn to. Historically, they had it so you can only see the one that you turn to, but the problem is when you're the player trying to choose which position, you don't even know all the maneuvers on your ship. So that was really a great improvement. As you see here, there's some little UI improvements as well. The fact that they have more checks and lines, so you can determine what firing arcs you're in. If someone is pointing at your aft or your fore or different points of your ship. As well as you see, there's also a, what was it called? A bullseye. So if you have, which is the center hexagon, that if someone's within your bullseye, you have particular effects that can trigger as well. It looks like the same dice. I actually want to check because I got a bunch of dice from 1.0, so I hope it's the same type of die. That way I have more of them. So when you have those awesome attacks, you're rolling more than 3 red dice, for example. You don't have to re-roll the same die. You can just roll them all at once. One big handful, which is cool. A shit ton of tokens. I'm not going to go through these. I'll go through them in a different session. But you can see like a lot of these just look plainer and cleaner. It's easier to see. The fact that you have the icon, but no fanciful background. So it's just white or black. So it's just easier to see at a distance, which I'm a fan of. And then these, I believe these are in 1.0, but this is more defined in this game. These are actually, I forget the fancy term for it, but it's for marking the position of a ship that you have on the field. So that, for example, if you had this ship and it was shooting at this guy, but you wanted to fly through him, if you're trying to do it with a ruler, it's a little difficult because this guy's in the way. Whereas what you can do now in the future is you could put one of these positional markers, which would be around its base, not the physical ship. That way you can remove it and then be able to measure without hitting the miniatures or doing these weird approximations from above, which is pretty cool. So let's look at the cards. So we got the standard deck of damage cards, which you see here. You see there's a ton of ship, a few pilots, and even less direct hits. That's because direct hits, you get 2 hits for the price of 1. But same thing, I like how it looks cleaner, and I like just the new upgraded look of the border. I think it really makes it pop. Instead of having a solid color, to have a clean color like white or black, but then just have a very simple design. Same thing you can see here with the cards, the fact that they really cleaned it up so you don't have the fanciful background that, you can easily see the icons, easily read the text with just a small part of the art at the top. That, for example, is Luke Skywalker. So these are the X-Wings I got, and then these are the battery of ties. The reason why you have more ties than X-Wings looks like, just because you have a variety of different types. You have the aces, the veterans, and like really weak pilots, whereas the X-Wings have really good pilots. And as you can see here, I don't know the purpose of these cards, but it looks like this for like setting up sample loadouts. And you can see what it looks like is difficulty levels. So if you're fighting like Luke Skywalker that's level 3 orange, then you'd want to take, you can't take 2 yellow pilots because that would be 4. You could take like a Valen and then an Academy pilot, for example, since you have 2 ties against 1 X-Wing in the core game. And what you see here is a ton of also upgrade cards. So they looks like they changed the loadouts. Before they used to be small cards, now they're bigger, which is, that's one thing I'm kind of not a fan of because for me I would rather have a smaller cards. But in any case, I know the reason why they had this way is because you have the left-hand side, which shows you, the type of upgrade, whereas the errata on the upgrade is on the right-hand side. And this just allows for more upgradable space. The fact that information can get put here, as well as you see here, you can add more icons and values, which can layer on top. And then when you have ones that flip, for example, like the S-foils, boom. So that's that guy in a nutshell. Next up is the Star Wars X-Wing Rebel Alliance. So the Rebel Alliance and the Galactic Empire were the first 2 that came out. Like I said, I just waited till all of them came out except for the epic ships. That way I could actually play with all of my stuff, use all the cards, and try to recreate a lot of those cool combos that I had back in the day, or at least squadrons of ships. So again, this came with a large, enormous number of tokens, like all these sheets. It was just ridiculous. It took so long to get all of these out. But yeah, a lot of stuff, a lot of tokens. One of the cool tokens you can see here is the new token that you put on top of the base when you have a turret. So now instead of just saying that you're firing a particular location, for example, a particular ship, you actually have to set where the turret's looking. And it's cool because you can actually turn the turret to where you want it to fire at after you move the ship. So it's a cool mechanic. Like, it makes it harder, but it makes it more realistic and more fun to say like you're actually using a turret instead of I could shoot every direction at all periods of time. A ton of ships, ton of upgrades, which is cool because like the whole point of the conversion kit is to provide you the upgraded rules for every single ship that was ever released for the Rebel Alliance. So this does not include the Resistance or Scum and Villainy ships you convert. This is like anything that was Rebel Alliance or cards you had that can convert ships to the Rebel Alliance. And so they just had to upgrade every dial, every base, and obviously all the cards. What you'll notice here is there's hardly any bases. That's because, again, this isn't giving you those ships. It's upgrading all the ships that you owned so you can play with 2.0. So the majority of these bases, I believe all of them, are the new medium-sized base. Because before this had small, large, and huge bases. And there's been several ships that they upgraded to a medium base just because of how big some of these starfighters were. So for example, here's a large base compared to a medium base compared to a small base. So now has, more difficult to maneuver or turn because you have a bigger ship. But yeah, ton of upgrades, which is great because it can accommodate all my ships. And what's cool is, in order to play with this conversion kit, all you need to do is have the model of the ship. Meaning, if there were multiple expansions that came out in 1.0 that you didn't have those cards or those paint skins, but you had a model of the ship, you can use any of these pilots. That's what's really cool, because I didn't have every variant of every like TIE fighter or bomber, for example, and now, well, that's for Galactic Empire, like for every like A-wing or B-wing, and now I actually do, which is pretty cool. So like I didn't have to go out and buy those ships since I already had one B-wing, one A-wing. I can actually use any of these pilots that correspond to that model of ship, which is pretty cool. Also, what came with the expansion, with the conversion kit, actually every conversion kit, is also new pilots that have never been released before. So what's cool about getting this conversion kit is not only can you upgrade your stuff to 2.0, but you can also get ships variants that you didn't get before, which now you can use. And then also new pilots that you can use with your existing models also. So it's like not just paying, a boatload of money for playing the newest version of the game. You actually get new content as well, which I think is pretty exciting. So this is a list of all of the actual new content that what I mean is like pilots that were not available in 1.0. So for example, we got Thane, Nora, and Evan. You can see here the different, a huge stack of pilots to choose from, 2 huge stacks of upgrade cards, and just like the 1.0, even though these upgrade cards came with the Rebel Alliance, you can actually use these upgrades with whatever ship you can actually use it on. See, I can use these on Empire, just as long as, for example, they don't say Rebel. But like this one, heavy laser cannon, since it doesn't have any restrictions here on the left-hand side, I can put on any ship that has this laser blaster icon. As well as it did also transfer over, if you might remember, some of the abilities, or I forget what they called in 1.0, but that different statuses that certain pilots or weapons can trigger, like suppressive fire. Those got converted as well. And so for the last conversion kit I'm talking about today, we got Star Wars X-Wing Galactic Empire. This is one of my favorites. And what's weird is, like, I don't want to say like every video game or board game that I always play the bad guys. It's not like I'm a bad guy, just the bad guy stuff, if you want to call it that. They always look cooler or do these, unorthodox stuff, which just makes it fun. So, Galactic Empire. Similar deal. A ton of different sheets of cardboard that you need to punch out, and a metric ton of dials to put together, and bases for every ship that's came out, or conversions that lets you play something as an Imperial ship. 2 huge stacks of more upgrade cards. Their status cards that came out. And actually, I don't have either one of these, so that's really cool. So it's like, again, it's like new content. Stack of pilots without the glare, if you can see. Okay. And some, I don't know what they call these engines of cards that could flip, but this one looks like does not flip. This was the Star, not Star Viper, what was it called? The Alpha class Starwing. Don't have that ship, but that's a cool card. And these are the 4 pilots that's actually new to the Galactic Empire that did not come out of 1.0 do you get with the conversion kit. See, this is everything that you get. So we got Gideon Delmico, Scene, probably butchered that, and Ved. So Ved, that one's pretty cool because that's TIE Advance X1, and that's a pilot I've not seen or even heard of before, so that's pretty cool. And you can see how they updated some of these special abilities of these pilots. If you see text, then that's just an ability of the pilot. Whereas what you see in bold at the bottom text, that's actually standard for that type of ship. So when you're in a certain types of ships, they'll always have certain abilities, so it has the feel of that ship. But then the pilots add their own unique bonus when they're flying as well. Just as you can see on the right-hand side here, the different abilities you can do on the ship. But then certain abilities are in red, meaning that if you do both in the same turn, it would actually cause stress. But yeah, like a lot of cool stuff. I have a lot of work to do in order to build these dials. And just so many fun cards. The fact that I have this 4 huge stacks of upgrade cards, just to look through them and see what changes they've made and what strategies to build. And the reason why I'm not going through card by card what all these do and what look like is because honestly, and just from my personal opinion, to build decks either for, honestly, X-Wing games, Armada, or even games like Magic the Gathering, it's so much easier to actually make these decks using a app because you can just quickly shuffle, you can quickly import deck lists, you can look through options just electronically very quickly. And then when you come to play the game, you can then take the actual physical cards and lay them out so your other player can see. Because the cards do look cool, but man, if I was trying to make a deck with like just these 4 decks of upgrade cards, it's a lot of touching the cards and a lot of flipping, and you just waste a lot of time administratively or getting fingerprints on the cards that you just don't have to. So my recommendation. Yeah, that's all I have for this evening. But yeah, these 3 expansions, a lot of cool content. I'm gonna be spend a lot of time just trying to build this stuff. Um, Next Sunday, 7 p.m. PST, I'll show you the other 3 conversion kits that I have, which include the Resistance, the First Order, and Scum and Villainy. And then part 3, I'll show you the collection of all of my ships that correspond to all these cool conversion kits. Let me see if there's anything else I wanted to cover today. I don't think so. Again, like, oh my god. X-Wing that actually can shift its going to attack position. That is so cool. Alright. Thanks for watching. My next stream will be Monday, 7 p.m. PST. I'll continue my run of Castlevania Symphony of the Night to see how far I can get, going off my save point from yesterday. And I'll talk about part 2 of X-Wing 2.0 next Sunday, 7 p.m. PST. Thanks for watching, guys. This is Ismortah again, and may the conversion kit be with you.